A garish "remove this fence or pay $4,000" sign defaced my father's barbed wire boundary, staked on my own ranch by Vanessa Holt's HOA cronies, who claimed my land as their playground. Their gleaming shed, built on my deed, mocked my family's legacy since 1975, while they plotted to seize my creek for their utopia. Think I'd bow to their lies? Think again. This is war for truth, and I'm armed with proof. Dive into this clash of greed versus grit. Like, share, and subscribe to fuel the fight. Hit the bell for every explosive update. The wind howled through the pines, carrying Vanessa Holt's voice like a blade slicing the morning calm. Tear down that hideous barbed wire fence, or I'll have the HOA fine you into oblivion, she barked, standing just beyond my property line, her silk robe fluttering, her designer slippers sinking into her manicured lawn. The grass stopped dead at the edge of my land, where the fence I'd built with my own hands a decade ago stood defiant. Vanessa pointed at the weathered posts like they were a personal affront, her perfectly painted nails glinting in the sun. I didn't yell back or flinch. Instead, I unfolded a creased survey map from my pocket, met her gaze, and said, "Funny you mention property lines, Vanessa. According to this, that fancy shed of yours, the one you love so much, it's sitting on my land." Her jaw dropped, her eyes darting to the pristine white shed behind her house, its gleaming paint a shrine to her obsession with perfection. It held her gardening tools, bags of potting soil, and the overpriced mower she bragged about at every HOA meeting. "That's impossible," she stammered, her voice cracking. "Paul built that shed years ago." I tapped the map, my tone steady as steel. "Built it on my land. You want to talk fences? Fine. In 2 hours, I'm putting up a new one, right through your flower beds, wrapping around your shed. By noon, it's mine." Vanessa's face turned crimson, her scream piercing the quiet. "You wouldn't dare." But the rumble of contractor trucks pulling up behind me said otherwise. She didn't know this fight had been brewing long before her ultimatum, and I was ready to draw the line she'd never forget. I'm a retired firefighter, scarred from years of battling blazes in Denver, now seeking peace on the 10-acre ranch my father left me outside Boulder, Colorado. This land, its hills, creek, and whispering pines, was my sanctuary, a promise to my dad to keep it free. I'd neglected it too long, buried in smoke and sirens, but now it was home. The old barbed wire fence, strung by hand under Dad's watchful eye, marked my boundary, a symbol of freedom. Vanessa, though, saw it as an eyesore, ruining her curated world. She and her husband Paul had moved in 2 years ago, their half-acre Lurot a stage for her HOA reign. At 38, a failed PR exec turned neighborhood tyrant, she ruled with emails dictating lawn heights and trash bin placements. My land, outside HOA control, was a thorn in her side. It started small, sticky notes on my gate. "Trim those overhanging pines. Hide that rusty truck. Your fence violates HOA aesthetics." I ignored them, chuckling at her nerve. My ranch wasn't part of her domain, a fact she refused to accept. Things escalated when she called animal control on my German Shepherd Rusty for barking at squirrels. "He's a menace," she'd claimed, her voice shrill over the phone. Rusty, loyal and graying, was no threat, but her petty reports stung. I tried peace, invited her and Paul for barbecue, grilled steaks, even poured her favorite mint tea. "We don't do outdoor meals," she sniffed, walking away. I offered to plant shrubs to soften the fence's look. "Shrubs are banned near shared lines," she snapped. Then came her final demand. "Move your fence back 12 feet. It's on my land." Her claim was absurd, but it lit a fuse. I hired a surveyor, expecting to confirm my boundary. The result was a shock. Not only was my fence exactly where it belonged, but Vanessa's shed and 8 feet of her precious garden encroached on my property. I stood by the creek that night, the map in hand, Dad's voice echoing, "This land's your promise, Caleb. Don't let anyone chain it." Guilt knotted me. I'd let the ranch languish, too caught in my old life to care. No more. I called Nora Tate, my old college friend and land dispute lawyer. "Caleb, this is a slam dunk," she said, her voice crackling with excitement. "She built on your land without rights. Send me the survey. I'll draft the paperwork to reclaim it." I kept quiet, filing deed corrections with the county, planning a new steel fence on the legal boundary. Vanessa had no idea what was coming. The morning she confronted me, I was ready. As she screamed, Paul appeared at their door, his face weary. "Vanessa, calm down," he said, his voice low. "You're making a scene." She spun on him. "Calm down, he's stealing our shed." Paul glanced at me, his eyes tired. "Is it true, Caleb? The land's yours." I nodded, handing him a copy of the survey. "Read it. Your wife's been gardening on my property for years." He scanned it, his shoulders sagging. "Vanessa, we need to talk about this, inside." She ignored him, turning to the gathering neighbors. "He's a bully. He's ruining our community." But her voice wavered, and I saw doubt in their eyes. The contractors began unloading steel posts, their clank a countdown. Vanessa lunged forward, grabbing my arm. "You'll regret this, Caleb. I'll sue you bankrupt." I pulled free, my voice cold. "Go ahead, but you'll need a better lawyer than your HOA cronies." She froze, then stormed off, muttering about her connections. I watched her go, the map heavy in my hand. This wasn't just about a shed or a fence. It was about Dad's legacy, about the promise I'd nearly broken. Vanessa thought she could control me like she controlled her cul-de-sac kingdom. She was about to learn that some lines can't be crossed, and I'd fight with every ounce of the grit that had carried me through burning buildings. The trucks revved, and I gave the signal to start digging. The battle had begun, and I was all in. The sun was barely up when I stepped onto the porch, coffee mug in hand, the ranch's quiet broken only by the chatter of birds. Yesterday's clash with Vanessa still buzzed in my head, her stream, the survey map that flipped her world. But I wasn't naive. She'd come back swinging. I checked the cameras I'd installed around the fence line, their feeds crisp on my phone. One clip from 2 a.m. stopped me cold. A shadowy figure skulking near the disputed shed, flashlight darting. I zoomed in. Vanessa, her face tight, scribbling measurements on a notepad. My jaw clenched. She wasn't just mad, she was scheming. I sipped my coffee, the bitter taste sharpening my resolve. This was no longer about a fence. It was a war for my land's soul. I called Nora, my lawyer, and played the footage. "She's surveying my land at night," I said, voice low. "What's her angle?" Nora's tone was grim. "Probably gathering ammo for a counterclaim, maybe an easement or adverse possession. Send me the video. I'll check county filings for anything fishy." I forwarded it, then headed to the barn where Dad's old files were stored. His meticulous records, permits, tax receipts, even a 1975 letter from the county affirming our sole ownership were my shield. But a yellowed note tucked inside a deed caught my eye. "Holt, fired for falsifying reports. Watch him." My heart skipped. Vanessa's maiden name was Holt. Could her father be the man Dad had crossed decades ago? Before I could dig deeper, Rusty growled, his ears pricked toward the road. A black sedan idled near my gate, its tinted windows hiding the driver. I grabbed binoculars, spotting a man in a suit snapping photos of my fence. "HOA goon," I muttered, dialing Hank, my neighbor, a grizzled mechanic who'd known Dad. "You see a black car prowling around?" I asked. "Yep," Hank drawled. "That's Greg Tanner, Vanessa's lapdog on the HOA board. Been snooping since you dropped that survey bomb. Heard Vanessa's rally in the neighborhood, saying you're tanking property values." I snorted. "Let her try. She's the one squatting on my land." Hank chuckled. "Careful, Caleb. She's got Paul whipped and half the street scared. Might pull something dirty." The car peeled off, and I headed to the shed, now legally mine. Its lock was scratched, like someone had tried picking it. Inside, Vanessa's gear, designer garden tools, unopened fertilizer bags, sat untouched. I snapped photos, then noticed a hidden panel behind a shelf. Prying it open, I found a locked box labeled HOA Records. My pulse raced. Why hide this? I left it unopened, texting Nora. "Found a locked box in the shed. HOA stuff. Suspicious." She replied, "Don't touch it. Could be evidence. I'm pulling HOA financials, rumors of missing funds." By noon, an email from Vanessa hit my inbox, CC'd to the HOA list. "Urgent meeting tonight to address Caleb Whitaker's illegal land grab and community disruption." The nerve. I decided to crash it, but first, I drove to the county clerk's office, needing more on that note about Holt. The clerk, an old friend of Dad's, dug up a 1980s file. James Holt, Vanessa's father, had been sacked from a land development firm after Dad exposed his forged surveys. "Your dad made enemies," the clerk said, handing me the file. Holt swore he'd get even. The puzzle clicked. Vanessa's fight wasn't just control, it was revenge. At the HOA meeting, the community center was packed, 50 residents buzzing with tension. Vanessa stood at the podium, her voice honeyed but venomous. "Caleb's actions threaten our harmony," she said, projecting a map, my land marked as HOA shared. I stood in the back, arms crossed, as she spun her tale. "His fence cuts through community space we've used for years." I raised my hand, drawing every eye. Vanessa's smile faltered. "Yes, Caleb," she said, her tone icy. I stepped forward, holding the county file. "Nice map, Vanessa. Too bad it's fake. My land's never been HOA property. Want to explain why your shed's on my deed?" Whispers erupted. A woman, Ellen, called out, "Is that true? We paid fees for shared land." Vanessa's eyes flashed. "He's lying. Our surveys prove our rights." "Then show them," I said, tossing my certified survey onto a table. "Mine's court-stamped. Where's yours?" Greg, the Bluetooth guy, stammered, "We're reviewing records." I turned to the crowd. "Ask her why she's hiding HOA files in my shed, or why her dad got fired for forging land claims." Vanessa's face drained of color. "That's slander," she shrieked, slamming the podium. Paul stood, his voice strained. "Enough, Vanessa, let's take this offline." She glared at him. "Sit down, Paul, I'm handling this." But the room was shifting, neighbors muttering, doubt creeping in. As I left, Greg cornered me outside. "You're making enemies, Whitaker," he hissed. "Vanessa's got plans you can't stop." I leaned in, voice low. "Tell her to bring it. I faced fires scarier than her." Back home, my phone pinged with a camera alert. Vanessa at the shed again, this time with a crowbar, prying at the hidden panel. I didn't call the cops, not yet. I wanted her to dig deeper, expose herself. Nora's next call confirmed my hunch. HOA's missing $20,000 in maintenance funds. Vanessa's name's on the checks. That box might be the key. I sat by the creek, Dad's note in hand, his warning about Holt now a living threat. Vanessa wasn't just fighting for control, she was settling a decades-old score. I'd let her swing, but when she fell, it'd be on her own lies. The dawn was crisp, the ranch cloaked in mist as I checked the cameras, my coffee gone cold. Vanessa's late-night crowbar stunt at the shed replayed on my phone, her frantic prying at the hidden panel a sign she was unraveling. That locked box inside, labeled HOA Records, was no innocent file. It was her Achilles heel, and she knew I'd seen it. My gut said she'd strike soon, harder, to bury whatever secrets it held. I texted Nora, my lawyer. Vanessa tried breaking into the shed. Box is still secure. What's next? Her reply was swift. She's panicking. Don't open it. Let me get a court order to seize it legally. I'm digging into her dad's old firm. Found a link to HOA's current surveyor. Smells like fraud. Before I could respond, Rusty's low growl pulled me to the window. A delivery van idled by my gate, its driver unloading a stack of HOA property signs, each staked into my land along the new fence line. Vanessa's latest move, claiming my ranch publicly. I stormed out, yanking the first sign from the dirt. "This is private land," I shouted, but the driver shrugged, pointing to a work order. "Lady named Holt paid me. Take it up with her." I tossed the signs into my truck, fury simmering. She wasn't just fighting, she was marking my territory like a predator. I called Hank, my neighbor. "You see Vanessa's new trick, signs all over my fence," I said, tossing another into the truck bed. Hank's voice was grim. "She's been at it. Posted online last night, calling you a land hoarder. Says the HOA's filing an emergency reclamation to protect community rights. Pure bull, but folks are eating it up." I gripped the phone. "She's got no claim." Hank sighed. "Doesn't matter. She's got charm and fear on her side. Watch for dirty tricks." Back at the ranch, I found a new email from Vanessa, sent to the HOA list. "Caleb Whitaker's illegal fence threatens our shared heritage. Support our reclamation at tomorrow's board vote." Attached was a doctored map, my land shaded as HOA Commons. I forwarded it to Nora, who called instantly. "This map's a forgery," she said. "It mimics her dad's old scam. Same font, same errors. I'm tracing the surveyor. Keep your cameras rolling, she'll slip." That afternoon, I caught Paul, Vanessa's husband, lingering by my creek, his face haggard. "Caleb," he said, hands in pockets, "can we talk, off the record?" I nodded, wary. "What's she planning, Paul?" He glanced around, voice low. "She's obsessed. Thinks she can force you to sell by making your life hell. Hired some tech guy to mess with your records. I told her to stop, but..." He trailed off, guilt in his eyes. "A tech guy," I pressed. Paul nodded. "Some hacker. She's paying him to fake a county filing, backdated to claim your land." I clenched my fists. "Why tell me?" He sighed. "I'm tired of her wars. Just don't destroy her, okay?" I didn't answer, watching him slink back to their condo. The hacker angle lit a fire. I'd dealt with cyber threats in my firefighting days, securing emergency systems. I checked my camera's cloud backups. Sure enough, someone had tried breaching them, leaving a digital fingerprint. I sent the logs to Nora. "Got a hacker trace," I said. Paul ratted her out. Nora whistled. "Gold mine. I'll subpoena the IP. If it's Vanessa's guy, she's toast." By dusk, the new fence was rising, steel posts slicing through Vanessa's flower beds. She appeared, hair wild, clutching a megaphone. "Neighbors," she blared, drawing a crowd. "Caleb's stealing our land. This fence is a crime." I stepped out, holding the court-stamped survey. "Your shed's on my deed, Vanessa. Want to tell them why you're hiding HOA files in it?" The crowd murmured. Ellen, a skeptical resident, shouted, "What files? We deserve answers." Vanessa's megaphone crackled. "He's lying to divide us. I've protected this community." "Then prove it," I said, tossing a photo of the locked box onto the ground. "Open that box or I will." Vanessa's eyes widened, her voice shrill. "That's private property." I laughed. "On my land. Try again." Greg, her HOA ally, pushed forward, sneering. "You're bluffing, Whitaker. We've got legal backing." I met his gaze. "Your backing is a forged map. Keep pushing and you'll all go down with her." The crowd wavered, some glaring at me, others at Vanessa. Carl, an older neighbor, spoke up. "If Caleb's got proof, show us, Vanessa. What's in that shed?" She froze, then snapped, "Stay out of this, Carl. You're clueless." Paul appeared, grabbing her arm. "Stop it, Vanessa. You're making it worse." She yanked free, screaming, "You're useless, Paul." The crowd gasped as she stormed off, megaphone clattering. That night, my cameras caught her again, this time with a gas can near the shed. I didn't call the sheriff, not yet. I wanted her to cross the line fully. But at 3 a.m., my phone buzzed with a county alert, an emergency filing claiming my fence violated watershed codes. The hacker's work. I smirked, saving the alert. Vanessa thought she was clever, but her father's old tricks were no match for Dad's legacy. I found his journal in the barn, a 1980 entry, chilling. "Holt tried to forge my deed. Beat him with truth. Caleb, always guard this land." I clutched it, guilt easing. I'd failed Dad once, but not again. The board vote loomed, Vanessa's last stand. I prepped my evidence, surveys, camera logs, Paul's confession. Nora's next call sealed it. Hacker's IP traces to a contractor Vanessa paid. We've got her for fraud. Confront her at the vote. I stood by the creek, journal in hand, the waters murmur like Dad's voice. Vanessa wanted a war, but I'd fight with truth, not rage. Her empire was crumbling, and I'd be there when it fell. The morning air was thick with tension. The ranch's quiet, shattered by the distant hum of a crowd gathering at the HOA's emergency board vote. Vanessa's forged map and gas can stunt at my shed had pushed her to the edge, and I knew she'd unleash everything tonight to crush me. My cameras had caught her every move, and Nora's trace on her hacker's IP was the final nail in her coffin. I stood by the creek, Dad's journal in hand, its pages fueling my resolve. This wasn't just about land, it was about truth, about keeping the promise I'd nearly broken. I slipped the journal into my pocket, grabbed my evidence binder, and headed to the community center, ready for the fight of my life. The center was a powder keg, over 70 residents packed inside, their voices a mix of anger and confusion. Vanessa stood at the podium, her silk blouse pristine, her smile a mask of control. Greg, her HOA crony, flanked her, passing out flyers with her fake map claiming my land as community commons. I slid into the back row, unnoticed, as Vanessa's voice rang out. "Tonight, we vote to reclaim our shared heritage from Caleb Whitaker's greed," she declared, pointing to the map projected behind her. "His illegal fence threatens our property values and our unity." Ellen, the skeptical neighbor, stood, arms crossed. "You keep saying, 'our land,' Vanessa. Where's the proof? Caleb showed us a survey, court-stamped. What do you have?" The room buzzed, heads nodding. Vanessa's smile tightened. "Our records, verified by our surveyor, confirm HOA rights. Caleb's survey is outdated." I gripped my binder, heart steady. She was lying through her teeth, and I had the receipts. Before I could move, Paul, her husband, stood, his face pale. "Vanessa, enough with the maps," he said, voice shaking. "Tell them the truth." The room went silent. Vanessa spun on him, eyes blazing. "Sit down, Paul, you're embarrassing me." He didn't budge. "I'm done covering for you. That shed's on his land. You knew it." Gasps rippled through the crowd. Greg tried to intervene. "Mr. Holt, this isn't the time," but Paul cut him off. "It's exactly the time. She's been lying to you all." I stood, raising my binder. "Mind if I weigh in?" I called, stepping into the aisle. Every eye locked on me. Vanessa's composure cracked, her voice shrill. "You have no right to speak here." I ignored her, addressing the crowd. "Vanessa's map is a forgery, cooked up by a hacker she paid to fake county records, And that shed she's fighting for, it's hiding something she doesn't want you to see. I held up a photo of the locked box. HOA files stashed on my land. Why hide them, Vanessa? The crowd erupted, voices overlapping. What's in the box? Show us. Vanessa slammed the podium. He's fabricating lies to distract you. I've protected this community. Ellen shouted back, protected or robbed? Our fees paid for that shed's junk, your junk. Vanessa's face flushed, but she pivoted, pointing at me. He's the thief, stealing our commons. I tossed the hacker's IP trace onto a table. Your contractor's email, Vanessa, paid to forge a filing against my land. Care to explain? Greg snatched the paper, his face paling as he read. This can't be right, he muttered. I turned to the crowd. She's not just after my land, she's been siphoning your dues. $20,000 missing, per county records. Check the box and you'll see. Residents surged forward, demanding answers. Vanessa screamed, don't listen to him, he's destroying us. But the tide had turned. Carl, the older neighbor, stood. I moved to suspend Vanessa pending an audit. Cheers followed, hands raised in a swift vote. Vanessa lunged for the microphone, but Greg pulled it away. You've done enough, he said, voice low. She froze, then bolted for the door, shoving past Paul. This isn't over, she hissed, her heels clicking as she fled. I didn't chase her, not yet. Nora texted, sheriffs en route to the shed, don't let anyone touch it. I nodded to Hank, who'd slipped in late. Keep an eye on her condo, I whispered. He grunted, on it. The meeting dissolved into chaos, residents shouting about refunds and resignations. I drove to the shed, where Deputy Lena Brooks waited with a court order. Got your message, she said, nodding at the shed. Let's see what's inside. We pried open the door, the crowd of curious neighbors trailing us. Lena unlocked the hidden box, revealing stacks of receipts, bank statements, and a ledger. My breath caught. Vanessa's handwriting detailed $30,000 in personal expenses, from jewelry to spa trips, all charged to HOA funds. Ellen gasped, that's our money. Lena bagged the evidence, her face grim. This is felony territory. As we secured the shed, a screen cut the night. Hank's voice crackled over my radio. Caleb, get to Vanessa's condo, now. I sprinted, Lena behind me. Vanessa stood on her lawn, a sparkler in hand, flames licking the shed's corner. If I can't have it, no one will, she shrieked, tossing another sparkler into the dry grass. I grabbed my fire extinguisher from the truck, dousing the flames before they spread. Lena tackled Vanessa, cuffs clicking. You're under arrest for attempted arson, she said, hauling her to the patrol car. Vanessa thrashed, her voice raw. You'll pay for this, Caleb. My father lost everything because of your dad. The crowd froze, my blood running cold. What did you say? I demanded. She laughed, unhinged. James Holt, your dad ruined him. This was my payback. Paul stepped forward, head bowed. She's been planning it since we moved here, he said quietly. I didn't know how far she'd go. I stared at Vanessa, her vendetta laid bare. You burned your own life for revenge, I said, turning away. The crowd dispersed, shaken. Nora arrived, her eyes wide at the smoldering grass. We've got her, she said, holding the ledger. Fraud, arson, forgery, she's done. But the HOA's imploding, residents want blood. I nodded, Dad's journal heavy in my pocket. Let's finish this. We filed a fraud complaint with the county, attaching the ledger and hacker's trace. Clara Voss, a local reporter, was already circling, her notepad out. Caleb, this is huge, she said. Vanessa's reign is over. Can I quote you? I shook my head. Quote the truth. The land's mine, and their dues were stolen. Back at the ranch, I sat by the creek, the ledger's weight beside me. Vanessa's arrest was justice, but her words about Dad stung. I opened his journal, finding a 1980 entry. Holt's lies nearly cost us the ranch. Truth won, but grudges linger. I'd fought his battle again, unaware. Guilt twisted. Had I honored his promise enough? The new fence gleamed under the moon, a line no one could cross. But Vanessa's final scream echoed, "This isn't over." I knew she'd left a trap, a last strike from her crumbling empire. The next morning would bring it, and I'd be ready, boots planted on the land Dad died for. The ranch was quiet under a dawn sky bruised with clouds. The creek's murmur the only sound as I gripped my coffee mug. Vanessa's arrest still raw in my mind. Her manic scream about revenge and her father's ruin had cracked open a wound. Dad's fight was mine now, and I'd barely held the line. The ledger from her shed, exposing her theft of HOA funds, sat on my table, a ticking bomb. Nora had filed the fraud complaint, and Clara's article was set to drop, but I knew Vanessa's parting shot, "This isn't over," wasn't empty. I checked my cameras, half expecting her shadow, but found something worse. An email from the county, flagged urgent, claiming a zoning violation on my west orchard. My gut twisted. This was her trap, sprung from her cell. I called Nora, forwarding the email. "Vanessa's behind this, isn't she?" I asked, pacing. Nora's voice was sharp. "It's her style, filed anonymously, but the timing's too perfect. It cites unpermitted land use near a watershed. I'll request the complaint's records, but it's likely a proxy. Get your permits ready, they're inspecting tomorrow." I hung up, digging through Dad's files. Every fence, shed, and drainage ditch was permitted, but the county's sudden scrutiny chilled me. Vanessa's vendetta had claws, even in defeat. Hank stopped by, his truck rattling. "Heard about the zoning nonsense," he said, leaning on my porch rail. "Folks online are split. Some say you're a hero, others think you stirred the hornet's nest." I frowned. They blame me for her crimes. Hank shrugged. "Vanessa's got fans, painted you as the outsider wrecking their utopia. You need allies, Caleb." His words stung. I'd fought for truth, but the community saw me as a disruptor. I needed to shift that. I drove to Clara's office, handing her the ledger scans. "This'll bury Vanessa," she said, eyes gleaming. $30,000 in personal splurges, jewelry, trips, all on HOA dime. Residents are livid. I nodded. "Run it, but I need a favor. Can you push a community event? I want to open my creek for a cleanup, show I'm not the enemy." Clara grinned. "Smart, I'll hype it. Give me a quote." I paused, then said, "This land's for everyone who respects it, not just me." She scribbled, nodding. "That'll resonate." Back home, I found a note slipped under my door, unsigned. "Check the HOA's old storage shed. You'll thank me." My pulse quickened. Another of Vanessa's secrets. I grabbed my flashlight and drove to the community shed, a rusty unit behind the clubhouse. The lock was flimsy. I pried it open, camera rolling. Inside, chaos. Boxes of Vanessa's designer clothes, unopened HOA supplies, and a laptop tagged property committee. I didn't touch it, calling Nora. "Found a gold mine," I said, sending photos. "Laptop might have more dirt." She whistled. "Secure it. I'll get a warrant. This could tie her to the zoning complaint." The cleanup day drew over 40 residents, some wary, others curious. I handed out gloves, pointing to the creek. "This is yours too if we keep it clean," I said, hauling debris. Ellen, once skeptical, joined me, her grandkids splashing nearby. "Didn't expect you to share this place," she admitted, tossing branches. "Thought you'd lock us out." I smiled. "My dad taught me land's a trust, not a cage. Vanessa wanted control. I want neighbors." She nodded, softening. Kids laughed, adults swapped stories, and the creek sparkled by noon. I felt Dad's presence, his journal's words alive. Freedom's in sharing, not owning. That night, Paul knocked, his face hollow. "Vanessa's in Denver," he said, handing me a USB drive. "Found this in her desk. It's bad. I'm sorry." I plugged it into my laptop, heart pounding. Files detailed her siphoning HOA funds, plus emails to a surveyor, her cousin Nathan Carver, plotting the zoning complaint to cripple Whitaker. I called Nora, voice tight. Paul gave me proof. Vanessa's cousin filed the zoning hit. Nora sucked in a breath. Nathan Carver. He's a land shark, sued for fraud before. This is bigger than Vanessa. Send it over. The county inspectors arrived at dawn, a stern woman named Riley and an older man, Tom. We're checking watershed compliance, Riley said, clipboard in hand. I handed them my permits, drone maps, and maintenance logs. Everything's legal, I said, but you should know who filed this. I showed them Nathan's email from the USB. Tom's eyes narrowed. This matches other complaints we flagged. Looks coordinated. They walked the orchard, measured ditches, and left after an hour. Riley turned back. Your records are clean. We're closing this, but we're opening an inquiry into the complainant. Stay sharp. Clara's article hit, a firestorm. HOA Queen's fraud exposed, land grab foiled. Social media exploded, residents demanding a new board. At the emergency HOA meeting, Greg resigned, tail tucked. Ellen stood, voice firm. We need Caleb on the board. He's proven he cares. Cheers followed, but I raised a hand. I'll join, but no more secret deals. Meetings in the park, open to all. They agreed, and I felt a shift. The community wasn't Vanessa's anymore. I turned the shed into a tool library, its door carved with Dad's words. Land is freedom, not control. The creek became a public trail, with a bench for Lila, my granddaughter, who loved feeding ducks there. One evening, Hank joined me by the fence, beer in hand. You changed this place, he said, nodding at the trail. Vanessa's gone, but you built something better. I clinked his bottle. Dad would have wanted it this way. I owe him that. But at dusk, a county letter arrived, my name in bold. Nathan Carver had filed a new claim, citing a 1910 survey, alleging my orchard overlapped his land. My blood froze. A note slipped inside, Vanessa scrawl. You took my life, Nathan will take yours. I stood by the creek, Dad's journal in hand, his warning clear. Grudges linger. Nathan wasn't just her cousin, he was her father, reborn in a sharper suit. I called Nora, voice hard. We've got a new fight. The land was mine, but the storm was far from over. The battle for Lake Caldwell reveals that defending your legacy demands courage, truth, and community. Caleb Whitaker's stand against Vanessa Holt's HOA tyranny shows how one person's resolve can topple greed. By exposing her fraud and reclaiming his land, Caleb honored his father's creed. Land is freedom, not control. His transformation of the shed into a tool library and the creek into a shared trail proves justice isn't just victory, it's rebuilding trust. This story urges us to guard our rights, confront bullies with facts, and foster unity over division. Caleb's fight wasn't just for his ranch, it was for a principle that no one can steal what's rightfully yours if you stand firm. It challenges us to face our own battles, whether against petty tyrants or personal doubts, and to plant our own fences against injustice. The looming threat of Nathan Carver reminds us, vigilance never ends. Want more stories of ordinary heroes defying the odds? Like, share, and subscribe to our channel. Hit the bell to catch every pulse-pounding tale of grit and glory. Join the fight for truth. Your story could be next.